Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Namaste. Myself, Jayesh Pamnani, as a host of ICICT 2022. Dear authors and invited guests, welcome to the technical session 4C. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 7th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology through Zoom. Further, as you are well aware, we have been facing new normal situations while overcoming the pandemic. Hence, the conference has been shifted to a hybrid mode. We are very thankful to everyone present on this platform to go along with us digitally for the conference in this unpredictable situation and making this conference more productive. Also, we wish everyone and their families a protected time. We hope you will enjoy a day of the knowledgeable and interactive digital session. Also, there is a special note for the presenters. You will be given 10 to 12 minutes for the presentation and 3 minutes for question and answer. On 10 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder. Also, I request while the presentation is going on, other participants kindly be muted. There is another request to all the participants that you all stay connected with us till the closing remark. Just before we start, I would like to introduce you to all the for the chairperson for this session, and the name of the chairperson is Dr. Swati Nikam. I would like to welcome the chairperson on the screen, please. Thank you, ma'am, for chairing the session.
Thank you, Jayesh. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I will be giving a short brief information for the chairperson. Dr. Swati Nikam has total 19 years of technical experience in computer engineering. She is working as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Engineering in Dr. D.Y. Patil Institute of Technology from 2001. She has achieved her PhD in 2022 on topic resource probabilism algorithm in a cyber physical system from SPPU Pune. It's a warm welcome to the session, ma'am. Now, we would like to start with the papers. Now, I would like to start with the first paper. Closed domain multi-choice questions answering system for science questions. And the name of the presenter is Mansi A. Radke. I would request the presenter to please start sharing your screen and start with the presentation.
Hello, sir. We have taken permission for my student co-author to present the paper on the behalf of our team.
Noted. Can you please share the name of the presenter or the author?
His name is Kedar Vaidya.
Thank you. Request the author to please start the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kedar, and my fellow authors are Sanya Chetwani and Mansi Radke. I will be presenting our work on closed domain multiple choice question answering system for science questions on behalf of my team. So let's dive into it. First up, we have the overview of our work. I will be giving a brief introduction and a glimpse of the pipelines that we have created. Next, I will be talking about the background and methodology and the data sets that we have used. And finally, concluding the presentation with results and conclusion. Let's start with the introduction. Let's talk about our motivation behind developing this system first. As you know, information retrieval has become of crucial importance due to the exponential growth in textual information. We see this information in the form of tweets, blogs, articles, research papers, etc. Due to the onset of COVID, a lot of educational material is available online, which makes such a question answering system further important. A system that can answer to a given query directly rather than leading the user to a set of reference documents heavily relies on machine learning and are becoming popular day by day. Let's see what we have proposed in this work. Firstly, we propose a novel end-to-end pipeline for the task of multi-op question answering. Then we modify this pipeline and highlight some limitations of the existing methods. A comparative study is provided for these two cases. I want to give you a glimpse of the pipeline that we have created. If we are provided with a question, answer choices, and supporting material to answer that question, our pipeline works as follows. Although this pipeline is complete in itself, we felt the need to observe what was causing reduction of accuracy. Therefore, we experimented by replacing the co-reference resolution and information extraction steps and introducing a curated knowledge base in its place. So the modified pipeline looks as follows. I want to briefly give you all a background of the works that have been previously done in this domain. Researchers have achieved remarkable results on open and closed domain datasets such as SQUAD and EMR-QA respectively. Basically, a question answering pipeline involves information retrieval, query processing, and answering module that we have seen in the previous slide. Researchers have made a lot of progress in all these topics individually, but the development of an end-to-end question answering system remains less explored. So let's see the methodology that we have adopted. In the later steps of our pipeline, you will notice that we are referring to a topic entity. Therefore, in data pre-processing, the query file needs to be supplied along with the respective topic entity. And this topic entity must also be present in our knowledge base. We use parsing to obtain such entities. Then using fuzzy match and WordNet, we select the most relevant topic entity in the question, which is also present in the knowledge base. I will give you an example. So the example question is, who is Justin Bieber? Here we derive the topic entity as the most relevant part of this question, which is Justin Bieber. Again, we see who is known for photoelectric effect. So the question is about photoelectric effect. Therefore, it becomes the topic entity. With the data pre-processing done, let's move on to the first step, that is co-reference resolution. To give you a brief idea about this concept, co-reference resolution is a task of identifying pronouns which have been previously mentioned in the text. Again, I will support this with an example. I voted for Nadir because he was most aligned with my values, she said. So here we can see she is referring to my, which is ultimately referring to I. And similarly, he is referring to Nadir. Co-reference resolution becomes the most crucial step in multi-op question answering because the computer must be able to deduce what these entities are referring to in order to deduce the correct answer. We tried using different methods and Spanbird worked the best. Next up, we have step 2, which is information extraction and knowledge graph. So extracting information from a sentence basically means deriving 3 most relevant entities. Entity 1 that refers to the subject, entity 2 that refers to the relation, and entity 3 that is most likely the object of the sentence. Once each sentence is divided into these 3 parts, they collectively form a knowledge base that can be represented in the form of a knowledge graph. Let's understand this with an example. So in front of you, you have an example paragraph with 3 sentences, and each of these sentences can be divided into multiple tuples depending on their length. On the left, you have a knowledge base demarcating entity 1, relation, and entity 2. Once we have a knowledge base, it can be represented in a simplified form, that is knowledge graph. For our understanding, so on the right of this slide, you can see entities enclosed in circles and related to each other by edges that have a relation that relates them. Before we move further, I want to say that these relations are very crucial for the computer to understand the links between 2 entities. As humans, we can understand relations even if they are lexically different, but the computer requires a standard set of relations to learn to correlate 2 entities. Next step, step 3, which is leveraging word embeddings. So brief definition of embeddings can be that they are vector representation of entities and relations that we are referring to in the previous slides. A vector representation in a vector space makes it much simpler to relate 2 words for the computer. We can say that 2 words similar to each other will be closer to each other, while 2 different words will be farther away in the vector space. This way, the computer is able to gauge the answer even if it is a synonym of the derived answer. Various knowledge graph embedding models such as Rascal, Transy, Transar, Complex, etc. are available with different scope functions to learn these embeddings. In our case, we make use of the libkg library to learn complex embeddings. But converting these tuples into knowledge graph embeddings will only make sense when the question is also in the form of an embedding. So what I'm talking about is we convert an entire question and its topic entity into embedding so that the computer is able to reason over the vector space in order to find out the answer embedding. We will use Roberta model to embed the question and topic entity. In this way, all the restrictions posed by the multi-hop question answering are ultimately resolved. Visually, the embed KGQA model looks like this and basically gets trained in such a way that the predicted answer is in the form of an embedding. Step 4, the answer selection module. So now our model has given us a predicted answer, but it is not necessarily always present in the given 4 choices. So the Euclidean distance for each set of predicted answer and the 4 choices is calculated, and the least distance indicates the most similarity. While training the model, we encountered many instances where all the answer choices were almost equally further away from the predicted answer. This was because the machine was not able to handle the lexical differences. Therefore, we introduced WordNet and derived 4 synonyms for all 4 choices and compared them as well to the predicted answer. So in summary, our answer selection module looks as follows. You must be thinking that the pipeline is very complete and handles majority of the issues posed by a question answering task. But still, we felt the need of modification. We observed while building the knowledge base, the information extractor tends to blindly break the sentence into 3 major parts. So entity 1 and entity 2 contain a list of words that diverts the attention of the system, and it is unable to demarcate the most important word. We also notice that the relation that has been extracted between entity 1 and 2 is not uniform. So we decided to introduce Aristo. Aristo knowledge base is a set of a large number of highly precise tuples spread over a range of domains in the field of science. Hence, it proved to be very useful in answering the questions of the ICICT dataset. To highlight the features of this dataset, A, it has been built on rule-based relations, and B, entity 1 and 2 are generally 1 or 2 words long. So in summary, our model uses 3 datasets. The ICICT dataset, that is a collection of crowdsourced multiple choice science questions, and OpenStax, which is a set of corpuses that are required to answer the ICICT question. And in the next part, we have Aristo dataset, that is a curated knowledge base, which reports 77% accuracy on the ICICT dataset. So finally, let's see the results that we have obtained. In pipeline 1, we obtained an accuracy of 23.6%. And interestingly, when Aristo tuple knowledge base was introduced, accuracy significantly rose to about 62%. Hence, we can infer that the pipeline is able to detect the answers correctly, provided an accurate underlying knowledge base is fed to the model. So, to give you a brief outline of how a pipeline works, we have a question here and a reference paragraph obtained from OpenStax. We process the reference paragraph into co-reference sentences, and these 5 sentences are further processed into a knowledge base having multiple tuples. The machine then detects the most relevant tuples for answering the question and gives us the correct answer. So in conclusion, an end-to-end pipeline was proposed for multiple choice questions that can be answered using a pre-existing domain knowledge, that is the reference paragraph. We also relate the change in accuracy to precision in the knowledge base and demonstrate this with a modified pipeline. In summary, the current information extraction techniques are inadequate for the purpose of question answering, and they should be able to extract extremely precise rule-based tuples based on the context. These are some of the references that we have used in this paper. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. I would request the chairperson if any of the question for the representative. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Kedar,
Hello. Ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a wonderful presentation.
Thank
I
you.
have two questions for you.
Okay.
I mean, where do you see that the accuracy is increased up to 62%, but is there any chance to improve the accuracy? I mean, where you are lagging?
The main problem that we are facing is with the core reference resolution and information extraction steps. So the more accurate our knowledge base is, our accuracy would be better. So currently we are using Aristo dataset, but if we have a better knowledge base than that, our accuracy would increase naturally.
Okay. Oh. And the second question is, are you processing anywhere the complexity of the questions? I mean, difficult, not the complexity, difficulty level of the questions.
I actually didn't get your question. Could you please repeat it?
See, the questions can be of different difficulty levels, simpler,
Correct.
difficult ones.
Yes.
So are you processing it anywhere? I mean,
No, we haven't used that data.
you haven't considered it.
No.
Okay, fine. Yeah, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Now, let's moving to the next presentation. We have the paper titled Usability Evaluation Using Unmoderate Remote Usability Testing on Agasla MS website case study. And the name of the author is Veronica Effendi. I request you to please start the presentation and share your screen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. JS. Let me share screen first. Okay, is my slide is already showed?
Yeah, the screen is visible.
Okay. Okay, thank you for Mr. JS for the time given to me. Hello, my name is Veronica Effendi. I come from Indonesia. I'm going to present my paper with the title Usability Evaluation Using Unmoderated Remote Usability Testing on Angkasa LMS Website Case Study. Oh, I can go next. Oh, wait. Okay. Angkasa LMS is a web-based application that allows educational institutions to easily order ready-to-use LMS, learning management system. And Angkasa LMS has developed as a solution for educational institutions that do not have sufficient resources to be able to build an LMS from scratch. Considering that the target users of Angkasa LMS are members of educational institutions spread throughout Indonesia with varying levels of literacy and varying ability to operate system, we realize that usability testing is very important to do. But however, usability testing for Angkasa LMS project has several obstacles due to limited project resource and COVID-19 pandemic. So based on the background, we define the problem is there is the existence of obstacles in carrying out usability testing involving users due to limited project resources and also pandemic conditions that limit direct meetings with target user. From the problem statement, we derive a research question, how to conduct usability testing on projects which have limited resources. These are our hypotheses. So the selection of remote usability testing is to accommodate the limitation of direct meetings with respondents and also the remote location of the target users. While unmoderated testing is chosen due to the limited project resource, such as a limited number of team developers, and also the hectic schedule for the developer and also for the respondent, which lead the mismatched schedule between development team and the respondent. So by using the unmoderated remote usability testing, we combine the two methods. We have hypotheses that the usability testing can be conducted well, and we can get significant insight from the testing result. This figure shows the research methodology we used in this study. It consists of 7 activities: define study goals and selecting testing tools, and then we write tasks and questions. Before the real execute test, we do the pilot testing first, and then we have recruit participants. Then we conducted the execute testing, and the last thing is we analyze the results. Okay, these are the methods used in experimentation. So besides using the remote usability testing and the unmoderated testing, we also use convenience sampling to support. Convenience sampling used with the aim of reducing the risk of incomplete testing by the respondent and improving the quality of the insight obtained. This technique is done by selecting the appropriate respondents and agreeing to provide input so that it is expected to provide sufficient insight from them. While the pilot testing is aimed to validate the feasibility of testing tools for use in the actual testing later, and to find out what kind of obstacles which may arise in the execution of real usability testing. And here we also use SUS, System Usability Scale. It's a commonly used questionnaire to evaluate the usability of the product. This SUS was chosen because it is easy and fast to get usability from a design product. So it can indirectly reduce cost and also lower the bandwidth of the network communication. And also it suited to user target who have a varying level of knowledge. Okay, we have found in the experiment result, in the bar graph, you can see downward trends in the number of users. We can see here the blue one is number of users we use in the pilot testing, while the orange we use the respondent to the real usability testing. As we can see that there is a downward trend in the number of users during the pilot testing, starting from the previous commitment. From the commitment to participate, we have 7 people, and when doing the testing, it turned out that not all were able to participate, and the number of users who carried out the entire scenario of testing was decreasing. After being investigated in the pilot testing, it turns out that there is a network problem on the user. Given this downward trend in the pilot testing, so we plan during the execution of the real test, we added a larger number of respondents than the minimum user target we have set previous, to reduce data shortage. And it can be seen on the graph. It turns out that in real execution, the orange one, there was a similar downward trend. But hopefully, the seven people here complete the task, and we hope that we can get the clear insight from them. Okay. This table shows examples of user feedback obtained from open question after each task was done by the user. From this data, it shows that the presence of a misclick does not necessarily indicate a problem. So we focus on the feedback first. From the feedback, it indicates the design still need a lot of improvement. While we also doing the use SUS questionnaire, and we have SUS score with the score 67.5. This score is in the lower margin of the acceptability range of acceptable. So it still needs a lot of improvement in the prototype. This is also in line with the overall feedback provided by participants after filling out the SUS questionnaire. The feedback are about unfamiliar menu and hidden menu, which make it difficult for users to complete their tasks. Comparing these two results, we have the same feedback. Yeah, here after each task and after the overall feedback, which is unfamiliar menu and hidden menu. Okay. Oh, sorry. Based on so this is the findings or result. Number one, pilot testing was play important role for validating testing tools and environment. Second, unstable internet connection conditions have a big impact on the success of the test. Remote testing is quite risky if too many tasks are created. Convenient sampling can minimize the number of users who are not willing to perform usability testing with a series of tasks. The last, in the remote testing, you cannot just recruit the same number of respondents with a minimal target number. Based on these findings, we then try to make the task scenario more compact. So we only select a critical and urgent task scenario to test. So to make the testing tool more lighter and hope to can minimize the network load. Due to the location of the target respondent who are quite spread out in Indonesia, and taking account to network condition in Indonesia, we have increased the number of target respondents from the initial minimum of 7 to a minimum of 14 people. So the more respondents, the better. The large number of respondents can cover the shortfall of the minimum number of respondents and avoid being able to overcome if the same problem occurs related to the network connection.
Sorry for the interruption, ma'am, but you
Yeah.
have 2 more minutes to go for the interview. Over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, these are the conclusion from our research. First, remote unmoderated usability testing can be done by combining it with convenient sampling techniques to ensure that respondents are willing to complete all tasks in the test. However, for the number of participants, it takes 2 or 3 times the number of targeted users due to consideration of several factors such as network connection constraint or internal participant factors that we cannot control. Second, follow-up questions that are asked every time the task is done are quite effective to get user feedback. And the third, open questions asked at the end of the SUS questionnaire can also provide insight from the experience of the respondent. And the last, in unmoderated remote usability testing, combining the SUS method for other consideration, it's really needed to be done because we cannot just rely on test result from one type of data. Okay, I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. I would request the chairperson if any of the questions for the author. Over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Veronica. I have one question for you. Is there any drawback of SUS method you found? Hello, Veronica. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I have mute.
Okay, okay, no issue. You got my question? Is there any disadvantage, any drawback you found with the SUS method? You're combining it.
Oh, in the pilot testing, I have a drawback actually from the combining remote usability testing with the unmoderated. We have a drawback there, but we anticipated it with the companion sampling for finding more respondent. By combining the SUS method, I think I don't have a drawback here because the result from the SUS questionnaire and also from the usability testing can be combined as a great insight for our repair for the product.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Veronica. All the best.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and for such a wonderful presentation. Now, moving on to the next presentation, we have the paper titled Implementation, Analysis, and Emulation of Electric Vehicle Powertrain System with a Sensorless Field Controlled PMSM Drive. And the name of the author is Monica Verma. Over to you, ma'am. I would request you to please start the presentation and share your screen.
Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you can start the presentation, please.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I guess there was some glitch with the internet connection. So, hello everyone. I am Monica Verma, a PhD scholar from Delhi Technological University, India. My topic of presentation is implementation, analysis, emulation of electric vehicle powertrain system with sensorless field controlled PMSM drive. So as the content for this presentation, we'll be having introduction, development of EVPT, that is electric vehicle powertrain test bench emulator, then analysis results, discussions, conclusion, and the references. So as we know, during last few decades, EV industry has excessively developed at global level. So many automobile manufacturers globally are developing various kinds of electric vehicles. This work actually shows the EV emulation system developed to study electric vehicle powertrain in a real-time environment. So the modeling of EV propulsion system is important to actually understand the dynamics of vehicles under various operating conditions. So mechanical energy developed at the shaft of electric motor is transferred to electric car wheel system through the transmission unit in the conventional electric powertrain system. So this is the block diagram of EVPT system in which we have a battery pack which is supplying to the three-phase inverter system, and it is being controlled by a microcontroller unit, and the supply goes to the motor. That here in the system we are using PMSM, that is permanent magnet synchronous motor, as the traction device, which is through the transmission unit and the gear system, transmitting the electrical energy to the car wheel system. Now, for the development of EVPT test bench emulator, in the proposed emulator system, we are using a 3 HP 380 volt Compage PMSM, which is coupled with pulley belt system, wheels, and 1.68 HP 380 volt Compage permanent magnet synchronous generator. So here PMSM acts as a traction device, extended motor shafts, and pulley system acts as transmission unit, and gear system for EVPT system. So in the table 1, we can see the various specifications of motor used and the vehicle specification which are used in the emulator system. Now the second one is the belt pulley transmission system, where we can see we have a driver pulley which is connected to the motor, and then there is a driven pulley which is connected to the wheel system. So this belt pulley transmission system is acting as a transmission unit of the overall EVPT system. There are different terminologies which are defined on the right side of the slides. So these terminologies are used to actually derive the wheel and vehicle speed as a function of motor speed. So if we go through the mathematical calculations analysis, we can derive by assuming that there is zero slip present in the mechanical parts of the system, and wheels have same radius, and vehicle is moving in the straight line. So by assuming these various points, we can derive the vehicle speed in the terms of motor speed. Here in equation number 9, we can see the vehicle or wheel speed, linear speed in kilometer per hour, can be derived in the form of motor speed, where RW is the wheel radius and P is denoting the pulley ratio, that is defined by here in equation number 4. So next comes the test bench control setup. Here, three-phase voltage supply is three-phase inverter system in which IGBT modules, that is SKM 75 dB, are used for providing fast using PWM pulses generated by the C code written in IDE tool, which is Kinetic Design Studio. Here, which is the test software for free-scale microcontroller unit. It is PWR KV46F, which is used for implementing the control of the drivetrain. So there are various specifications given in table 2. So this actually requires 5-volt supply from USB or J516 jack port, and it has 26 KB flash memory. So actually to run this, we need this microcontroller is operated by a control circuitry, which is shown in this slide. It actually requires the limitations of 3-phase currents and DC bus rectified voltage under the limit of 0 to 3.3 volt. So this control circuitry actually ensures this voltage limits. Now figure 5 shows Miller system and the power electronic use this. First, number 1 shows the PC system controlling the free-scale software. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are. Please
Yes.
continue.
Number 2 and 3, yeah. 2 and 3 are showing the inverter system and the control circuitry part. 4th and 5th are showing the DSO and the DC supply circuits, and 6th one is the microcontroller unit employed in the system. Now, as a oriented control, we actually shift the our convention from stator to rotor side, and we decouple our stator voltages and flux voltages into D and Q axes, as can be seen in the following equations. So the concept of sensorless control technology which is used is based upon the back EMF estimation by drawing the electrical model of PMSM in simplified form. So figure 6 represents the simplified per phase electrical model of PMSM. So equation number 17 represents the basic mathematical relationship that can be derived from this model, and it is converted into digital form, which is shown in equation number 20, where IS n+1 represents the present sample, and the terms, various terms, the is considered in calculation. Now in sensorless control, this is a schematic where we actually add a new position and speed estimator block. Here in the descriptive form, it is shown in this block. So here the back-end speed estimator works by observing the measured current from the motor hardware and estimated current from digitized motor model. Here, sliding mode controller is generating an output correction factor that is represented by Z on the basis of the sign of the error that is observed between measured and the estimated current. This is filtered This correction factor Z is filtered to obtain the back EMF, which is updated over every control cycle. Now, vector components of back EMF are used to estimate the overall rotor positions, and then they are passed to the low pass filters to calculate the output from the speed and position estimator block, that are theta and the motor speed. So as for the simulation, this is the slide which is showing the MATLAB Simulink model designed for controlled Evpt system. This is designed in MATLAB environment. Now, for the discussion, we have observed the MATLAB model under this condition. So first one is the speed and variable load. Second one is the speed varying, step varied speed and the variable load. So here the controller parameters are set for proportional controller parameter is set for 1000 and integrator integrated controller constant is set for value of 5. So here for fixed speed and variable load, the load of 15 Newton meter is provided at 1.5 seconds, and the speed is kept constant for throughout the operation. We can see the motor is settling at 70 km per hour initially, but at the load disturbance, it is accelerating at 5.5 meter per second square. Same way, when speed disturbance is done at once, the motor is accelerating, vehicle is accelerating at 33.3 meter per second square, and when load disturbance is given, the vehicle speed accelerates, accelerates as per the command. Same way for other two operations, including speed and braking operation, we have observed that it is according to the disturbances. As for increasing speed, speed is increasing, motor speed has the ramp speed which is having 1 radian per second square acceleration, and disturbance is at equals to 1 second, or that is equals to 10 Newton meter. Vehicle goes accelerates at 4.16 meter per second square. For braking operation, the model is also tested. It is tested. The load disturbance is decreased from 10 Newton meter to 0 Newton meter at t1 second, and initially the vehicle is observed to be settling at 80 km per hour. But as the braking operation is done at t equals to 2 seconds, the motor also decelerates at 16.6 meter per second square and reaches to 0 km per hour at 2.29 seconds. So now Evpt emulator is analyzed for different modes. Like 23 voltage using variable auto transformer. So first is the startup mode. Initially, at first, FreeMaster execute the startup subroutine to provide the initial jerk or ramp to the motor by energizing stator windings with stable estimate rotor position. The distant operation is performed by FreeMaster via USB interfacing system. So FOC actually regulates the D, ID, and IQ part to test the motor under different operating conditions. So first is startup mode. Here 50 volt is supplied to microcontroller, perform the startup process to estimate the possible rotor positions. So the wheels attained maximum of 69.9 RPM initially, and here it is acting as the ramps are given, initial ramps are given at 1.4 seconds interval, as can be seen in figure 13b. Here in freewheel mode, it's actually a mode of operation in which vehicle powertrain system performs the apparent check of currently effective driving speed. So it is actually when ramps are given in the first curve 14a, we can see the red one is showing the response of the motor as per the given ramps in the green diagram, and the required currents are being generated that are shown in the blue diagram. So here a maximum of 80 89, 83.2 RPM is earning during the freewheel mode. So after that, it is tested for acceleration mode. So here, when the speed of motor is changed from 0 RPM to 700 RPM, the required Q-axis current is shown in blue curve, and the three-phase currents are shown in figure 16. So it is found to be suitable for acceleration mode, and then for braking mode, the command at second from 780 RPM to R. So figure 17 shows the response of Evpt system during braking mode. It is showing satisfactory performance, and 18 actually compares the measured and estimated rotor positions. So this section gives the drive cycle test. So to predict the future drive patterns actually for various vehicle applications and reducing the road test expenses, the technique for simple drive test is applied to the emulator system. So for this, NEDC is designed and fed as input command to the system, as can be shown in figure 19. So figure 20 shows the motor RPM response in the form of the curve, which is actually following the drive cycle with some fluctuation, which can be reduced by further applying the intelligent control over the system. So this table shows the speed mode test at the end of startup and freewheel mode. Software actually switches the logic to sensorless field-oriented control based on different speed commands given in first column. The second column gives the estimated angular speed of wheel, and here it is measured using the tachometer from the system, and this is the linear speed, which is actually calculated using the equation number 9, which we calculated in the previous mathematical derivations. So for conclusion, it is that various dynamics of the vehicle system can be premeditated by developing an Evpt emulator system, and here sensorless FOC is implemented in analyzing for various operating conditions in MATLAB simulating environment. So the simulated and tested controller performs the prompt action of providing the accurate control over the Evpt system under different operating conditions. As for the future scope, the advanced techniques of control can be tested over the emulator system, and the regenerative braking operation can be simulated and tested over this workbench, and control over PMSG can also be simulated and tested. These are the some future scope which we are planning for implementing over this system. So these are the references. Thank you so much for this presentation. I'm open for getting the feedback and any queries from this from the listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. I would request the chairperson if any of the questions for the author.
Thank you, Monica, for the wonderful presentation. I have one question. Like, you are emulating the system. I mean, you have developed the emulator, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, what would be the exceptions when you'll implement it? I mean, what are the exceptional conditions which are not yet captured by that emulator? Is there any?
Ma'am, as in real time environment?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ma'am, actually, there are some limitations which this belt pulley system, which is acting as a transmission unit, gives because it actually depends upon the fixed ratio of the radius which are used in the pulley system. So transmission unit can give us the limitation because it cannot vary. But in the real time environment, if we implement it in the form of a vehicle, we can introduce the gearbox with flexible configurations. That is one of the major limitation. And any other right now I can only list down this one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in the conclusion, you said you're planning some with advanced features. I mean, what would be those features? Can you just?
Okay, ma'am. Actually, here we have implemented very basic field-oriented control for this emulator system, but there are many advanced control techniques that can be implemented over the system, which can be tested in the microcontroller by embedding the coding, like for example, artificial neural network and fuzzy logic, and many algorithms are there which can be implemented for providing the sensorless control over the drive, which can give the fast response. As you can see in different operating condition, it is lagging in teaching the given command for the transient response, but we can increase the transient response as well as the steady state response by giving the intelligent control techniques. There are many that can be the future scope for this system.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Monica. All the best.
Thank you so much. How do I stop sharing? Actually, I'm not getting the.
Thank you so much, ma'am,
Can
for
you
the
help, sir?
wonderful. Yeah, I'll do that. We'll do that from our side. Thank
Okay.
you so
Okay.
much.
Yes, it stopped sharing. Thank you so much, Jay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, moving to the next paper title, we have Canon analysis for handwritten digital recognition using support vector machine on MNIST dataset. And to represent this, we would like to request the presenter, please be on the screen, and the name of the presenter is Yuan Han Liu. I would request you to please start the presentation and share your screen.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So can you see my screen now?
It's just a blank screen. You have opened a video, I think.
Okay, okay, perfect. Hello everyone. My name is Duy. I'm a university student from Vietnam. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for organizing the digital mode so that I can attend and present my paper. And to ensure the presentation process is as continuous as possible, avoid making some mistake. I have recorded a video of my presentation. So now I will present my paper with this pre-recorded video. Hello everyone, my name is Duy and I'm a student at Evpt University from Vietnam. Today I'm going to present to you my paper named Kernel Analysis for Handwritten Digit Recognition on MNIST Dataset. This paper was completed under the guidance of Dr. Phan Duy Hùng. For presenting my work, I will proceed according to the following plan. So let's get started with the introduction. Handwritten digit recognition is a problem that has been studied for a long time. Support vector machines is a classic algorithm that effectively solves this problem with high accuracy and relatively low computational cost. The accuracies of the model using SVM depends on the selection of hyperparameters as well as the kernel suitable for the datasets, but there is still no concrete conclusion about the optimal selection for this problem. So in my work, through some experiment, I will point out the best combination of kernel and hyperparameter when using SVM on MNIST datasets. Moreover, from the obtained result, we propose some new methods for selecting appropriate kernel for given datasets. About support vector machine algorithm, this is a supervised machine learning algorithm. The main goal of this algorithm is finding a hyperplane that clearly distinct two classes. With multi-class classification problem like handwritten digit recognition, SVM has two approaches, one-to-rest and one-to-one. As you can see, with different approach, the classifier use different number of SVMs. About kernel support vector machine, this is a function which helps transform low-dimensional input space into higher-dimensional space to make our problem become linear separable. In this work, I will consider four popular kernel SVM include linear kernel, polynomial kernel, radial basic function. and sigmoid kernel. You can see the function of each kernel on the slide. Before learning the specific hyperparameters of each kernel, we will consider a general hyperparameter of the SVM, which is C parameter. C is a regularization parameter for SVMs. I will consider linear kernel to see the effect of the parameter C because this kernel doesn't add any extra hyperparameters to the model. The graph on the left shows the influence of the parameter C, and the table on the right will show us in detail the accuracy of the model corresponding to each value of C on the MNIST dataset. Results show that the model has the highest efficiencies when C equals 0.05. Similar to how it is done with the linear kernel, we will consider the three next kernel in turn with the degree parameter D of polynomial kernel, the gamma parameter of the RBF kernel, and the sigmoid kernel. And you can see the following slide are the results obtained after the experiment. So after aggregating results from 4 kernels, it can be seen that the kernel with the highest accuracy is RBF with C equal 10 and gamma equal 0.01. To explain the reasons for the above experimental results, we will first consider the decision boundary of each kernel on MNIST datasets to capture its data distribution. This figure shows that each kernel will give us a decision boundary with its own shape and characteristics. For example, the polynomial kernel allows us to model the conjunctions of features up to the order of the polynomial. The radial basic function allows us to select circle or hyperspheres as opposed to the linear kernel, which allows us to select only lines or hyperplanes. As we can see from a human point of view, the decision boundary of the RBF kernel is the most reasonable, and the partitioning by the decision boundary is consistent with the datasets. Besides that, different from other kernels where the mapping planes is limited to a fixed number of dimensions. With RBF kernel, if you have m distinct training points, then the RBF kernel can make the SVM operate in an m-dimensional space. We can say that RBF kernel maps to a space of infinite dimensions. Here is the mathematical proof of this property using Taylor expansion. Next, we will take a closer look at the noise of the MNIST datasets. The box plot on the left shows the Euclid distance to the digit centroid. It seems that the greatest variability of this metric is between 0 and 2. But each number has at least a few cases where the distance from each centroid is very large. The figure on the right describes pairwise comparison of digit pixels. Pairs with very red or very blue region are easy to classify. From the figure, we can see that 0 and 1 is easy to classify because it has significant regions of deep red or blue. In contrast, 4 and 9 or 7 and 9 looks pretty hard because they are mostly white. Through the above analysis, it can be seen that with a dataset having high level of similarities like MNIST, we need a higher dimensional mapping plane to ensure data is linear separable. In this case, RBF kernel will do this task better than another kernels. So far, my papers come to 3 main conclusions as follows. Optimal choice of kernel and hyperparameters when using SVM on MNIST datasets is RBF kernel with C equal 100 and gamma equal 0.01. Secondly, is it possible to predict the appropriate kernel by observing the feature and shape of the decision boundary created by each kernel? And lastly, RBF kernel with property about infinity dimensions will be an effective choice when dealing with datasets having high similarity between class. So this is my presentation. Thanks for your attention. So that's all of my presentations. Again, thanks for your attention. And any question for my presentation?
Thank you so much for your presentation, sir. I would request the chairperson to, if any of the questions for the author.
Yes, I have one question. Which all hyperparameter you are talking about?
The hyperparameter will depend on which the kernel you are using. For example, with the linear kernel, the parameter is just parameter C, and with RBF kernel, the hyperparameter is C and gamma, and something like that with another kernel.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir. Now, moving on to the next presentation, we have the paper title, Texture Analysis and Feature Extraction in Tumor Skin Cancer Survey. And I would request the presenter named Asma Abdul Razak Al Khasi to represent this on the platform. I would request you to please present your presentation and start sharing your screen. Over to
Hello,
you, ma'am.
Tom. Welcome. Can I start my presentation?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for your listening. Welcome, dear guests. I wish everyone continued success. My article is the texture analysis and feature extraction in tumor skin cancer survey by Asma Abdulrazak Al-Kaisi. I am a PhD student in computer science, and this article part of my thesis talking about skin cancer and how can I classify this type of cancer available. I use data set in Harvard University of many, and I applied many techniques on my work. The main abstract includes in this article, we present the main texture strategies extracted such as co-occurrence matrix, gradients, contrast, discrete cosine transform, discrete wavelet transform, fractal, and principal component analysis. In addition to run length, are used for analysis image skin tumors. Add to it, combine and compare these strategies to reach a high diagnosis accuracy by computational complexity to reduce the challenge example, rotation noise, etc. To become familiar with the many sort of feature that may be
Ma'am, we can't see your
utilized.
screen, share screen.
What?
You haven't shared the screen.
Voice?
Ma'am, you haven't shared your PPT, you haven't shared your presentation.
Presentation?
Yes, just please share your screen.
Okay. Introduction. Over the past decades, the indicator of skin cancer has increased in countries. The increase in infection rates due to several reasons. One of these reasons is the decrease in the one's layers and direct exposure for sunlight. Therefore, new techniques must be used to diagnose skin cancer early, based on the principle of taking pictures of these tumors and subjecting these pictures to a series of treatment processes to obtain high diagnosis accuracy. There are two ways to obtain color medical picture of skin tumors, which is either the
Ma'am,
microscope
sorry for the
or
interruption, but I would request you to please share the screen for the presentation.
What?
Can you please share the screen for the presentation?
This presentation, a piece of my thesis.
But the presentation is not visible on the screen share. I would request to please start sharing your screen. There's a button in the bottom of the column. We would be having the option for the share screen. Please click on that.
Yes. Can I continue? Can I continue? Are you?
Would you like to share the presentation on the screen?
Yes.
But it's not visible to the presenters. So I would request in the bottom of the column of the application, you need to click on the share screen.
Okay.
Thank you. I would request you to please do it on the full screen.
Full screen, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Please. Many methods are used for diagnosis. But, okay. Many methods are used for diagnosis the dermoscopic image, such as hierarchical process. This method focus on distinguish between non-molecular melanocytic lesion and subsequently between the benign and malignant lesion. Depending on series rules of dermoscopic criteria that propose the avoid subjectivity analysis. Another way, some methods focus on possible density and the criteria inside the tumor pattern analysis. Other methods use criteria associated with the melanoma such as 7-point checklist with original and weighted, and Menzies method. Menzies method gives space accuracy at 71% and sensitivity 92% for diagnosis melanoma. The fourth method is combine the rules of ABCD. That means symmetry, border, structure, lesion, and color distribution, and CICH, that means architecture, symmetry, homogeneity, taking into account the melanoma and melanocytic cells, in addition to other information about family history, age, and gender. The main techniques that are used in this article, 8 techniques, that is gradient technique, discrete wavelet transform techniques, discrete cosine transform techniques, contrast techniques, and co-occurrence matrix techniques, fractal techniques, principal component analysis techniques, and Ranlet techniques. In my article, I use 4 types of techniques, and mixed between them, I used the gradient and discrete wavelet transform and cosine transform and the gradient. I obtain result at 99.24% as accuracy. All of these techniques are explained in details in the article. All of these methods can be implemented on a color used RGB, red, green, blue, as a color gradient of the image has significant impact on the accuracy of the diagnosis. It is also possible to combine these methods to obtain high diagnosis accuracy. This is the reference that I used in my article. Thank you very much. Can answer? Any answer? Any question? Sorry.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the presentation. I would request the chairperson if any of the questions for the presenter.
Yeah, Asma, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what all results, exceptional cases you have got where it could not be detected?
I make on these techniques. I use 4 techniques in my thesis, and can obtain the output and accuracy at 99.24% as accuracy for these techniques. We can apply on other techniques to obtain more accuracy. And can I classify the 7 types of cancer, skin cancer?
Okay. Okay.
Thank
Thank you, Asma.
No. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, moving on to the next presentation, we have the paper title Legal Frameworks and Issue of Social Media Use for Politics. And I would request Ketachi Hilmariam Mangesa to represent the presentation. And I would request please start sharing your screen and start the presentation. Over to you, sir. Due to unavailability of the presenter, we would be moving to the next paper. That was the end of the paper, and I would request the chairperson to speak some words for the presenter and the conference.
Yeah, thank you, Jayesh. And thank you very much to all the presenters for wonderful presentation. It has always been my pleasure to be a part of ICICT or any conference organized by GR. So I'm so happy to be here with you all, and I wish to have the same in future too. And I wish all the best to all the participants for their future research. I mean, this is the continuous process of research. So please continue with your research, and I wish all the success in your future endeavors of research also. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jayesh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I sincerely thank our authors for their excellent presentation, contribution in the session, and all our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. All the presenters would be getting their digital certificate through email within 2 working days. Further, all the papers have already forwarded to the Springer. The publications will be live within 5 to 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2022. I also thank our session chair, Dr. Swati Nikam, for chairing the session and for your presence over here for chairing the session. A token of appreciation to the chair on behalf of the team ICICT 2022 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation.
Thank you, Jayesh.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable presence. And I would request all the presenters to please switch on this camera for a memorable conference. Thank you so much for a wonderful time. I would request all the participants can exit the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for you.
Thank you, Mr. James, Ms. Dr. Swati.
Thank you.